Shri Vishnu. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarini He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome to the Nectar of Instruction Bhakti Shastri study. Yesterday we completed the discussion on text 5 on the three kinds of Vaishnavas whom one should intelligently choose. One should be able to careful discrimination and intelligently choose to do the 6 loving exchanges, what is mentioned in text 4, the Kanishta, Madhyama, and the Uttam. So the Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttam definitions Prabhupada gives based on this NOI. Then Prabhupada discusses the Kanishta and the Madhyama from the Bhagavad perspective. And then he goes back to the Kanishta and Madhyama based on what Rupa Goswami is saying in the Nectar of Instructions. And by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can move from the Kanishta to the Madhyama and to the Uttama. So he, from the chanting perspective, and the whole process is called as Diksha, Divya Gyan, and he speaks about that from the 2 verses, and one should become qualified to take initiation, and then from Kanishta how to go to the Madhyamadikari. So all that he discusses, and then he goes to the Sanatan Shiksha definitions of Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama, and then later on he goes to the discussion between Satyaraj Khan, based on Nam Ucharan, the Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. So like that, from different perspectives, the Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama is there. And then at last, how one can, by faithfully Sevanmukhe Jivado, one can realize Krishna. For that, one has to constantly chant and ultimately only accept prasad. And what are the symptoms of that also he discusses. And ultimately, what Rupa Goswami is advising in text 5 is that one should select a Uttamadhikari, a Mahabhagavat, as a spiritual master, by which he can also make advancement. So that's the point he concludes. Now, text 6 is also one of the most important verses in Updeshamrit, and it is very to be carefully studied, this verse. Text 6 in one essence speaks about further about association, but how a Madhyamadikari should associate with the Uttamadikari in order for him to make advancement. But a Madhyamadikari is warned not to see faults in an Uttamadikari. And what are those, material, seeing a Uttamadikari from a material consideration. So that is what is being discussed. So basically, in the flow of the Updeshamrit, if you see, text 4, how to associate with anyone by the 6 types of loving exchanges. Text 5, how to apply these methods for different levels of devotees of Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. And now take 6, how one should associate specifically with the Uttamadhikari and not to commit offense. So this is one of the most important verses because this is like a transition. If you chant sincerely and associate with a Uttamadhikari and you don't commit offenses, then you can cross the Namaprad stage, Namabhas, and come to Shuddhanam. So you also can become pure. So this is offenses to Vaishnavas and offenses to Nam, which block our advancement in Krishna consciousness. And here, specifically, this verse will deal with the offenses to Vaishnava, especially the Uttamadhikari. And this is also in a different meter. I will recite it. Drishte svabhavajanite vapushcha doshe na prakritatvam iha bhakta janasya pashet gangambasam na khalu budbudafena panke brahmadravatyam dravatvam apagacchati niradharme दृष्टे स्वभावजनितः वपुश्च दोषे न प्राकृतत्वम् इह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गाम्बसां न खलु बुद्बुदफेन पङ्के ब्रह्मद्रवत्वम् अपगच्छति नीरधर्मे दृष्टे स्वभावजनितः जनितैर्वपुश्च दोषे न प्राकृतत्वमिह भक्तजनस्य पश्येत् गङ्गाम्बसां न खलु बुद्बुदफेन पङ्के ब्रह्मद्रवत्वम् अपगच्छति नीरधर्मे. Anyone would like to recite? Yes, Priya Mataji.
दृष्टे स्वभावजनितैर्वपुषश्च दोषे न प्रकारतत्त्वम् इह भक्तजनस्य पश्चेत् गङ्गां भसं न खलु बुद्बुदाफेन पङ्खेर् ब्रह्माद्रवत्वम् अपगच्छति निरधर्मे.
Yes, excellent. Na prakritatvam. Prakritvam. Prakritvam. Prakritatvam it is. Okay, anyone else would like to try? Okay. Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with a body. Prabhupada in his translation itself, he is giving a detailed explanation. He is Bhakta Janasya. Bhakta Janasya here, if you see, Prabhupada is Bhakta Janasya of a pure devotee. This is a Uttamadhikari. So Prabhupada is speaking. He is situated in his original Krishna consciousness, and that's why he doesn't identify. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Drishte swabhava janita vapushcha devashe. Drishte means from an ordinary vision. And swabhava janita, born of one's own nature, vapusha of the body. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee's having a body born in a low family. Now, what are those materialistic point of view or material defects you can see in the body of a pure devotee? Now, although Rup Goswami is not specifying these in detail, but here Prabhupada gives, indeed, one should overlook a devotee having a body born in a low family. One, a body with a bad complexion, vapu. In the body, it's a dark complexion body, a bad complexion, a deformed body, or a disease or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, drishte svabhava, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee. They might be there in the body of a, but despite such seeming defects, the body of the pure devotee cannot be polluted. Na prakritatvam iha. That's why we should not see these doshas, faults. And then The example is given of Gangambasu na khalu budbuda fena pankar. It is exactly like the water of the Ganges, when sometimes during the rainy season is full of bubbles, budbudu, foam, fena is foam, and pankhair, pankaja. The lotus, it is born of the dirty mud in the lake. That's why its name is Pankaja, born out of dirt. So similarly, mud. So the Ganga might be polluted with bubbles, foam, mud, and all. The Ganga water does not become polluted. Brahma Dravatvam. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding will bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water. Brahma Dravatam apagachati. It is not spoiled. Neera dharme. That is the dharma of Ganga water. Of course, Prabhupada is giving a quite detailed explanation also in this verse, you can, in this translation. So here specifically this verse uh, is speaking about how one should not see a Madhyamadikari and even a Kanishta, because Madhyamadikari can distinguish who is a Kanishta and who is a Uttama, and he, uh, how he has to reciprocate and deal in these loving exchanges with the Uttamadikari is being talked about. So the Madhyamadikari has been warned specifically that he should not see a Uttamadikari. Bhakta means not a new Bhakta here. Bhakta is a pure devotee here. Krishna Bhakta, Nishkamata eva Shant. So it is speaking about a pure devotee who is in Bhava or Prema Bhakti platform. He should not be seen from a material vision. Now, Drishte Sabhava, this Drishti can be the gross material vision and the subtle mental vision. Now, the gross material vision is where we see the external deformities, like, bad complexion or deformed body, diseased body, or, some defects in the body, disease like that. But there can be also Sabhava. Sabhava means one's own nature. He might see, based on his nature, you might see some nature in particular nature of a pure devotee, and based on that nature you find defects. That is central mental vision. But Prabhupada says that you should see a pure devotee from spiritual vision. So that's how Prabhupada will begin his purport, that a pure devotee is engaged in pure devotion. So that you should see. So, okay, now let's go to again the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's analysis in his commentary on the Updeshamrit. We saw Vacho Vegam is Tridandi Swamir Lakshan, and 2 to 4 is Madhyamadhyakari Goswami's external dealings and bhakti rules. By performing this, the Madhyamadhyakari advances and his internal development and vision develops. And how is that happening from 5 to 8? There's a gradual progression, how he, serves the three kinds of Vaishnavas, Kanishta, Madhyam, and Uttama, by offering respects. There is offense. If you don't offer respects to Vaishnava according to their level of consciousness, then you are committing offense. And now further, text 6 speaks about, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Aprakrita Vaishnave Prakrita Drishti Nisheda. A Vaishnava is a Prakrit. A Prakrit means he's transcendental. He's transcendental situated. He's not on the material platform. But Prakrit Rishi, seeing him from a material vision, Nished, it is forbidden here. That means you have to avoid committing offenses to a Uttamadikari. And then slowly the taste will come for chanting. And then you'll enter into deep chanting, Vraj Bhajan. So that's how there's a progression you can see. Now, the purport is quite brief, and Prabhupada speaks about two themes in the purport. One is glories of Shuddha Bhakti, paragraph 1 and 2, which a pure devotee is performing. And that's why being situated in this transcendental platform and performing pure devotional service, you should not see defects. That's why he gives 6 warning against Vaishnava criticism from paragraphs 3 to 9. Now, what are the 6 warnings? Because of bodily defects, because of some abominable activities, from material consideration. Oh, he's an American Goswami, he's an Indian Goswami, he's a you know Jat Goswami, like, and discriminating on material point of view on the basis of society, caste, and creed. Oh, he's a Punjabi and I'm also Punjabi, and we gel together. Sometimes based on that also, it is on a bodily platform. So, of course, I would like to here very clearly mention that based on, oh, he's my spiritual master's god brother, and the others are other spiritual godmothers, even that kind of a discrimination is on the bodily concept of life. So, all this, one should be very careful. And if you do that, it is an offense. Being envious of a devotee and misbehaving with them. And then in that, when you're envious of a devotee, commit Vaishnava Avarat. What is the effect Prabhupada speaks? And criticizing of an empowered Vaishnava, that is still more grievous. And then consider an empowered Vaishnava an object of disciplinary action or try to give advice or corrective. That is paragraph 9. So like that, each of these paragraphs we'll see. First, we'll see paragraph 1 and 2, glories of pure devotion. So Prabhupada begins his purport by describing the character of a Uttamadhikari. And he quotes Bhagavad Gita 14.26 of Vyabhicharini Bhakti and Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. In Shuddha Bhakti is the activity of the soul proper. In other words, engagement in the transcendental loving service of the Lord is performed in the liberated condition. Actually, bhakti is actually performed in the liberated condition only. And till you come to that liberated condition, that bhakti which is practiced is not Shuddha Bhakti. Only when one is liberated, then the bhakti becomes Shuddha. So actually, Uttam Adhikari is practicing Shuddha Bhakti and he is doing the activity of the soul. In the sadhana bhakti, the senses are engaged and the chit is getting purified because of the engagement of the senses. And when the senses get purified, then the chit is also fully purified internally. Then there is the awakening of, uh, there is no influence of the material energy on the soul, and the soul performs its natural constitutional activity. Mahatmanastu Mampartha Daivim Prakritimashita Bhajanti Ananya Manaso Gyatva Bhutadim Avyayam. So that is the activity of the soul. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Prabhupada is quoting this 14.26. Mamcho Vabhicharena Bhakti Yogena Sevate Se Gunan Sa Gunan Samiti Te Tan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. But basically, Prabhupada is quoting here to mention that he has transcended the modes. He's in the liberated platform. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So, at the liberated platform, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma न सोचति न कामशति sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhakti labate para. Para bhakti begins from there. That's the point. Avyabhicharani bhakti means unalloyed devotion. Of course, when we study the Gita, we can go into the subtleties of what is the difference between ahetuki bhakti and avyabhicharani bhakti. Because this verse is quoted from the 14th chapter, which is the Gyan Yoga section of the Bhagavad Gita. And if you see the word-to-word translation also of Prabhupada, avyabhicharini comes in two places here. Mamcha, Mai cha ananyogena bhakti avyabhicharini. So the Jnani performs these limbs of Gyan, and these are this Amanitvam, Adamvitvam. And Prabhupada, if you see Mamcha avyabhicharini without any break, he says. Apratihata, it is without any break. But he has a hetu. What is that hetu? He has a hetu to attain liberation. So in that sense, It's not pure, without fail, continuous, without any break. Like Dhruva Maharaj, with full concentration, without any break, he was performing devotion in order to attain a kingdom greater than Brahma. So his bhakti was Mishra Bhakti. So, but Prabhupada is using here just to explain that devotion is on the transcendental platform. A person engaged in devotional service must be free from material motives. For this, Prabhupada quotes the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In this Krishna conscious movement, one's consciousness must be changed. If consciousness is aimed towards material enjoyment, it is material consciousness. If it is aimed towards serving Krishna, it is Krishna consciousness. Very simple definition to know whether we are in material consciousness or in Krishna consciousness, or we are in between. When we are in between means, we are little material, more material conscious and little Krishna conscious, and that percentage varies. But Krishna consciousness means you are always serving Krishna, and material conscious means you are enjoying your senses. And Krishna consciousness means you are giving enjoyment to Krishna's senses by performing devotional service. A surrendered soul serves Krishna without material considerations. Anya bilashita shunyam bhakti rasamrita sindhu. So here, the Gyanis, of course, practice bhakti, which there is hetu. So there are these two types: material consciousness, Krishna consciousness, aimed towards material enjoyment, aimed towards serving Krishna. Jnana karma dhanavritam, unalloyed devotional service, which is transcendental to the activities of body and mind. So unalloyed devotional service is transcendental to even the activities of body, such as Gyan, mental speculation, karma, is called pure bhakti yoga. This is the definition of pure bhakti yoga. When there is a desire for liberation, then there is Gyan avaran happening. There is Gyan avaran. Bhakti yoga is the proper activity of the soul. And when one actually engages in unalloyed, uncontaminated devotional service, he is already liberated. So for liberation, Prabhupada is quoting this 14.26, Sagunan Samitaitan. Krishna's devotee is not subjected to material condition, even though his bodily features may appear materially conditioned. So from here onwards, after setting the background that who is a pure devotee? A pure devotee is one who is transcendental to the modes and is practicing Shuddha Bhakti, Anya Vilashita Shunyam. Such a devotee is not subjected to material conditions, and that is why we should not see a devotee from a material perspective. So that's how, even if his material body seems to be conditioned, which might appear for us, but still we should not see that. One should therefore not see a pure devotee from a materialistic point of view. So this is how Prabhupada comes to the point of discussion now. Unless one is actually a devotee, he cannot see another devotee perfectly. So this is the crux. It takes one to know one, they say. And that's why there was Vamsi Das Babaji Maharaj. Vamsi Das Babaji Maharaj was a Avduta, and externally he did not take bath. He wore some torn clothes, and he had his Gaurnita deities, and he used to talk with them, and completely, he was oblivious to this world. And people thought he's a mad, and nobody thought he is a Paramhamsa and Mahabhagwat. It was only Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur who recognized how exalted he is. And then, other Vaishnavas were able to understand. Because Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was himself a Paramahamsa and Mahabhagwat. So it takes one to know one. And that's why uh, a Kanishta who is practicing bhakti, he will he's tainted with material vision. So he will also see with that same vision also even a Mahabhagwat. Atmanya eva jagat, If you are lusty, then you'll see everything with that lust only. So your vision is tainted. So that's why one should be very careful, and that's why from Shastra Chakshu we have to see. As explained in the previous verse, there are three types of devotees: Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttama. A Kanishta devotee cannot distinguish between a devotee and a non-devotee. He is simply concerned with worshipping the deity in the temple. A Madhyamadikari, however, can distinguish between a devotee and non-devotee, as well as between a devotee and the Lord. Thus, he treats the supreme personality of the devotee and the non-devotee in different ways. We saw that. So now what are the 6 warnings? So first is paragraph 3. He will speak about the bodily defects and also about abominable activities. No one should criticize the bodily defects of a pure devotee. If there are such defects, they should be overlooked. What should be taken into account is the spiritual master's main business, which is devotional service, pure service to the Supreme Lord. So, firstly, if there are some bodily defects, then we should not see those defects. And by seeing such defects, we will be committing offense. There is that pastime of Ashtavakra Muni. Ashtavakra Muni, Vakra means bent, and Ashta means 8. 8 places he was bent. And once, I don't know where, he visited some king, and the king's daughters, seeing him, walking like that, bent in 8 directions, he was walking in a very twisted way. They laughed at him, and Ashtavakra Muni cursed them, and they were cursed. And then they regretted, and then Ashtavakra Muni later on blessed that later on you will uh, get Krishna as your husband, like that. So one should overlook the bodily defects of a pure Vaishnava. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, apichetsu duracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadur eva samantavya samvyak vyavastito hi sa. Even if a devotee sometimes seems to engage in abominable activities, he should be considered a sadhu, a saintly person, because his actually identity is that of one engaged in the loving service of the Lord. So here, this is a pure devotee being described. Now, we can see this verse from different perspectives. And each perspective, when we study, we have to understand the verse from that perspective. But now we are presenting here this verse from the perspective of a pure devotee. Now, pure devotee never commits any sin because he's bhajate mam ananya bhak. He's an ananya bhakta. And even if he commits something which is very abominable, still you should see him as a sadhu. Sadhu eva samantavya samvyak vyavasito hi sa. So he might commit something abominable, or he might fall down also. A pure devotee also can fall down. Prabhupada is very clear about it. And the classic example is of Maharaj Bharat. Maharaj Bharat was a pure devotee who was situated on the platform of Bhava. And he got attracted to a deer. Suddenly, when the deer was drinking water in the Gandaki river, suddenly a tiger jumped in, and because of the fear, it had a delivery and it ran away, and the baby deer was there. And Maharaj Bharat felt a little compassion. Sama dukkha sukha dhiram somu amrit tatvaya kalpati. One should maintain equanimity in sukha and dukkha. By that, one can attain liberation. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita 2.15 speaks about this, yamhi vatayante te purusha shabha sama dukkha sukham dhiram sama sukha dukkha dhiram somu amrit tatvaya. Then he is qualified for liberation. So his samatvam, was disturbed. He became little dukkha. And dukkha happened. He felt, he felt compassion for this. Who will take care of it? Actually, Krishna is taking care of everyone, but he being, you know, a king, he had that Ishwar Bhav that I have to take care of the praja. So that because of that karma of previous karmas, that effect was there and it got activated at that point. And then what did it happen? That he started maintaining the deer and taking care of the deer and became attached to the deer. Now Krishna wanted to, it is between Krishna and him. He wanted to uh, show some lessons, and that's why, he had to go through that. So still he is sadhu. Because although Bharat Maharaj took a deer's body, he had 1,000 times more attraction for Krishna even in that deer's body. And when he came in the body of Jad Bharat, his attraction for Krishna multiplied another 1,000 times more. So he was Bhajante Maam Ananya Bhak, even in the deer's body and as Jad Bharat. So that is why we have to consider as sadhu, and we should not, see uh, such even some accidental such fall downs happen. We don't know what is the arrangement between him and Krishna. So we have to leave it to them and their authorities. And we should not criticize, oh, this sadhu has done this abominable activity. So criticizing a Vaishnava because of some daiva, some providence by providence, especially an advanced devotee event happening by daiva, is a very, very grievous offense. It is Vaishnava aparadh. So that's why one should avoid this. Okay. In other words, he is not to be considered a ordinary human being. That's what Prabhupada says in paragraph 3. Okay. Now, paragraph 4, he speaks about another kind of, um, material consideration that, oh, this Vaishnava is born in a Brahmana family, he's born in a Goswami family, you know. Even though a pure devotee may not be born in a Brahmana or a Goswami family, if he's engaged in the service of the Lord, he should not be neglected. In actuality, there cannot be a family of Goswamis based on material considerations, caste or hereditary. Just because somebody is born in a Goswami family, he just doesn't become a Goswami. The standard of a Goswami is text 1, when he is able to control all these Vegas. Etan Vegan yu Visayadhira Sarvam api mam prithvim sa shishyat. Just because your surname is Goswami, you don't become a Goswami. No. The standard is according to text 1 of the Udeshamrit. The title Goswami is actually the monopoly of pure devotees. Prabhupada is saying here. Thus we speak of the 6 Goswamis. Prabhupada gives all their names, Rup and Sanatan. Rup and Sanatan Goswami had practically become Mohammedans and had therefore changed their names to Dabir Khas and Malik, Sakar Malik, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself made them Goswamis. Of course, they practiced and they had conquered over these urges. Therefore, the Goswami title is not hereditary. The Jat Goswamis, the caste Goswamis, the word Goswami refers to one who can control his senses, who is the master of the senses. A devotee is not controlled by the senses, but is the control of the senses. Consequently, he should be called Swami or Goswami, even though he may not be born in a Goswami family. According to this formula, the Goswamis who are descendants of Sri Nityanand Prabhu, Nityanand Vamsha, and Advait Prabhu, Advait Vamsha, are certainly devotees. But devotees coming from other families should not be discriminated against. Indeed, whether a devotee comes from the family of previous acharyas or from an ordinary family, they should be treated equally. They should be treated equally. This is the point Prabhupada is making. One should not think, oh, here is an American Goswami and discriminate against him. Nor one should think, here is a Nityananda Goswami. There is an undercurrent of protest against our awarding the title Goswami to American Vaishnavas of the Krishna conscious movement. Some people flatly tell the American devotees that their sannyas or their title of Goswami is not bona fide. However, according to the statements of Srila Rupa Goswami in this verse, an American Goswami and a Goswami in the family of Acharyas are non-different. Goswami is according to Rupa Goswami in text 1. So it is very interesting when proper disciples came to India and especially Prabhupada started the Krishna Balaram project. Many of his Western devotees took up that austerity to please Prabhupada to take up that construction project. And in Vrindavan, they were visiting many of the temples, and many of the Brahmanas who are coming, who are the Brajbasis, who are coming in the Varnashram from the Brahmana family, they were maintaining these deities. So when one of proper disciple went to take darshan, so the pujari blessed him that this life you have become a Vaishnava, it is very good. In the next life, you will be born in a Brahmana family and then you'll become pure devotee. So he mentioned like that. So this devotee was very new and he went to Prabhupada and he told Prabhupada, this is what this pujari told. So Prabhupada told, next time you go and meet that pujari, you tell him that because you have come in touch with ISKCON devotees, in the next life, you will take up Krishna consciousness, become pure, and you will go back toward it. So just because you are born in a Brahmana family, you know, it doesn't mean you are a Brahmana. Brahma janati iti Brahmana. So that's what you have to be, you have to have the clear knowledge of the Siddhanta. Okay, further. On the other hand, a devotee who has attained the title of Goswami but is not born of a Brahmana father or of a Goswami in the family of Nityananda Advait Prabhu should not be artificially puffed up by thinking that he has become a Goswami. Now, of course, there is could not be also discrimination, and I have heard it also many times. I have come across this. Sometimes, in India, this mentality is there. They say that, oh, this sannyasi is from India, he's proper disciple. That sannyasi is from America, he's also proper disciple. I will take from this Indian sannyasi because he's coming from a Brahmana family. He's coming from a, other family from America or wherever, Russia or whichever country. So even this kind of discrimination you're doing, it is drishte swabhava. It is an offense. Now, Prabhupada, in this paragraph, he is speaking about something deeper that even if one is a Goswami now, and he should not become proud, because if he becomes proud, he can fall down. He should always remember that as soon as he becomes materially puffed up, he immediately falls down. So, even one has become a Goswami, and if you become proud, you can fall down. So, that is very interesting here. Prabhupada is making it very clear. This Krishna conscious movement is transcendental science, and there is no room for jealousy. Where does Prabhupada in the Bhagavatam speak about this? Which verse from the Bhagavatam speaks about that there is no room for jealousy for one who is on the transcendental platform? Anyone knows? Raise your hands. Anyone knows? Where in the Bhagavatam it is spoken no room for jealousy or envy? It's there in the Bhagavatam. Priya Mataji, which verse in the Bhagavatam?
Prabhuji, I'm still searching. Is it 5.18.9?
It is right 112. Dharma projit kaitavo paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedam vastavam vastvotra shivadam tapatrayunmulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamune Krite Kim va Pareshwara Sadhyo Ridyavrutate Kritibeshushabhish Tachana Nirmatsaranam. This is for the Paramhamsas. There is no room of jealousy. This movement is meant for the Paramhamsas who are completely free from all jealousy. Prabhupada is quoting this, Paramam Nitsmar Saranam. One should not be jealous whether he is born in a family of Goswamis or has the title of Goswami awarded to him. As soon as anyone becomes envious, he falls from the platform of Paramhamsa. So even from the platform of Paramhamsa, one can fall down. So at the level of prema, there is only one vidhi and one nishedh. One should love the Lord, and of course, that love manifests as compassion, and one should not be envious. If you are envious, then even from that platform you can fall down. You can fall down. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. If we consider the bodily defects of a Vaishnava, we should understand that we are committed an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava. So seeing the bodily defects means we are committing offense. And then Prabhupada mentions about the Hatimata. An offense at the lotus feet of the Vaishnava is very serious. Indeed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described this offense as Hatimata, and mad elephant offense. A mad elephant can create a disaster, especially when it enters into a nicely trimmed garden. One should therefore be very careful not to commit any offense against a Vaishnava. So this
Guruji,
seeing this defect.
can you share the screen?
Okay, I forgot. Sorry. One should not commit an offense to the Vaishnava. Every devotee should be ready to take instructions from a superior Vaishnava, and a superior Vaishnava must be ready to help an inferior Vaishnava in all respects. One is superior or inferior according to his spiritual development in Krishna consciousness. So, yesterday also we were making this point Kanishta Madhyama is basically the level of consciousness. How much is Krishna conscious? One is forbidden to observe the activities of a pure Vaishnava from the material point of view. Now, this is especially sometimes with the sannyasis, there are the servants, and the servants are traveling with the sannyasi, and they see the sannyasi also, clears his stomach. I also clear the stomach. I'm also traveling with the sannyasi at the same pace. He sees that he's also doing his bodily activities of answering nature's call. I am also doing that. I'm also traveling with him. There's no much difference, he might feel sometimes. So that's why, Vaishnava Kriya, Mudra, Vigyana Bujai, even the most learned cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. So we might see from material vision, and that's why we have to be very careful. And it is forbidden to see activities of a Vaishnava from material point. For the neophyte, especially, considering a pure devotee from a material point of view is very injurious. One should therefore avoid observing a pure devotee externally, but but should try to see the internal features and understand how he is engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Now, I was mentioning in the beginning of the discussion that drishte swabhava, there is the material vision where we see gross defects, and there is the mental vision where we see defects in the nature of that person. And the mind sometimes takes a lot of pleasure. Oh, this nature of this person is like this. And we try to find faults in it. But we lack spiritual vision. And because we lack spiritual vision, we don't see from the spiritual vision how this Vaishnava is engaged in the service of the Lord. Our attention is caught in the external material defects or in the nature, and we find faults because we lack spiritual vision. And that is why this warning is given. And repeatedly, that's why we have to study and understand this. In this way, one can avoid seeing the pure devotee from the material point of view, and thus one can gradually become purified devotee himself. So here this point is to be noted that as long as you don't become free from this material vision of seeing a pure devotee, you yourself cannot become purified, and your purification will depend on that. If you commit Vaishnava offense, then your progress is blocked. Now, in the last paragraph, last two paragraphs, those who think that the Krishna conscious movement is limited to a certain section of the people, a certain section of the devotees, a certain tract of land, are generally prone to see the external features of the devotee. Yeah, Vaishnavas, these are American Vaishnavas, we are Indians, like that. They say this Gaudiya Vaishnavism is, Indian philosophy. So it's all, from a, not from broad level seeing. Such neophytes, unable to appreciate the exalted service of an advanced devotee, try to bring the Mahabhagavad to their platform. Now, Prabhupada is speaking about himself because his god brothers were criticizing, why are you, giving initiation to, you know, Westerners and all this, so many things were going on in between their god brothers. We experience such difficulty in propagating this Krishna conscious movement all over the world. Unfortunately, we are surrounded by neophyte god brothers who do not appreciate the extraordinary activities of spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. Prabhupada is speaking about himself. Never in this, at least history of this, at least this day of Brahma, maybe I can say, not actually when the Lord comes, but never we have heard anything astounding as, what Prabhupada has done, going in the Western world and transforming someone to give up illicit activities and taking up to Krishna consciousness. Never in the history it has happened. It's like as good as Narad Muni doing, transformation of Mrigari. So such is the Shakti which Prabhupada was a Shaktavesh avatar. Shaktavesh, you know, he was empowered by the Lord Shakti to do this kind of a work all over the world. So criticizing, such a, empowered representative of the Lord is also great offense. Prabhupada speaks that they simply try to bring us to their platform and they try to criticize us in every respect. Criticize not me, Prabhupada says, us, he says. That is humility. We, Prabhupada doesn't say I, we very much regret their naive activities and poor fund of knowledge. An empowered person who is actually engaged in the confidential service of the Lord should not be treated as an ordinary human being, for it is stated that unless one is empowered by Krishna, one cannot spread the Krishna conscious movement all over the world. Krishna Shakti nahi pravartan. Without being empowered, Krishna Shakti vina nahi tara pravartan. Without being empowered by Krishna Shakti, it's not possible to do that. When one criticizes the pure devotee, he commits an offense, Vaishnava Prad, that is very obstructive and dangerous for those who desire to advance in Krishna consciousness. So, this is a warning. And practically speaking, in bhakti, the one of the greatest obstacles is Vaishnav Aparad, Vaishnav Ninda, criticizing Vaishnavas. And then there is Nam Aparad, where there is inattention in chanting. If you can cross these two obstacles, you'll gradually make advancement to the higher levels of Krishna consciousness. A person cannot derive any spiritual benefit when he offends the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Everyone should therefore be very careful not to be jealous of an empowered Vaishnava or a Shuddha Vaishnava. It is also offense to consider an empowered Vaishnava to be an object of disciplinary action. It is offensive to try to give him advice or correct him. So here are the other considerations what one should not do, Prabhupada is mentioning. One can distinguish between a neophyte Vaishnava and an advanced Vaishnava by their activities. An advanced Vaishnava is always situated as a spiritual master, and the neophyte is always considered his disciple. A spiritual master must not be subjected to the advice of a disciple, nor should a spiritual master be obliged to take instruction from those who are not his disciples. This is the sum and substance of Srila Rupa Goswami advice in the 6th verse. So, Prabhupada, we saw, dealt with all these 6 categories in paragraph 6 to 9. Bodily defects, abominable activities, still he's an Ananya Bhak, even if he does. Then based on caste creed, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, then the foreign Goswamis, from the material point of view, basis of society, Jat Goswami and all. And one should not be envious and misbehave. And what will happen? It will lead to Vaishnava Prad. And one should not criticize empowered Vaishnavas. Or an empowered Vaishnava should not be an object of disciplinary action. So that is the sum and substance. And what I feel is that this is where we get stuck. Even as a beginner in Krishna consciousness, and as after many years spending in Krishna consciousness, we don't make, in the beginning, we make very swift advancement. And then slowly we start seeing the faults. Oh, this Vaishnava's nature, he has got anger, he becomes angry and he's very rude in his behavior. And we start seeing the defects. And we see defects in others because the defect lies in us. So this purification of the anarthas should happen. And that is why it is pertinent that one studies what is Vaishnava Ninda, Vaishnava Aprad, and especially Nam Aprad. And if you can avoid these two, then slowly you will start getting taste for Nam. So that is the sum and substance of discussion of text 6. Any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Any doubts? Okay then, so we will stop here. Shri Updesha Amrit ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Hare Krishna.